you. Hi, everyone. My name is Denise. I am here with Katie Blair. Katharyn Blair. She is the author of this book, The Beckoning Shadow, which has the coolest cover. And especially after you read the book, you will see how awesome this cover is for this particular book. I love it so much. She's pretty awesome. Let's see. She's a novelist, screenwriter. She graduated with an MFA in 2015 and is finishing her MA in literature. She's been a social media coordinator for several films at 20th Century Fox, an intern at her city's Parks and Recreation Department, a gymnastics coach, and most recently, a writing professor at, am I going to say this right? Azusa
Pacific. Yes, APU.
Yes, APU University. She lives in Los Angeles with her family, and this is her debut novel, which I'm sure will be one of just the first of many to come because it is so fun to read. So great.
Thank you.
And I'm going to read people watching just this amazing starred review from Kirkus that said it's an extraordinary debut packed with richly drawn characters and a sure to entertain storyline. And Publishers Weekly said, interweaving excellent world building with uncertainties of discipline, friendship, and taking ownership of one's decisions, Blair's debut will entrance and delight in equal measure. Some pretty awesome reviews.
That sounds really nice. I did walk around and tell my entire family that I entrance and delight in equal measure, and now you cannot say otherwise. And they're like, first of all, that was your book. Second of all, that's not how reviews work.
No.
And delight.
Exactly. No. You. It said you. It said Blair. Entrances and delights. I support you 100% on this.
You can pick it up with Publishers Weekly because I'm entrancing and delighting completely.
Hell yeah. I like this. I'm all about this.
Thank you.
The world building actually was something as I was reading it that I was really interested in from a research angle. First of all, I have to say I love from a craft angle, since this is a part of Angela editorial, let's talk craft a little bit, right? It made me just, the editor in me and the writer in me loved the fact that the thing she didn't want to do, the thing that she was like so against doing, the thing she ran away from her family to do, she ends up having to do throughout the whole book, which is hurt people. And I was like, that is well done. Well done. That was really pretty great. That was awesome. You're welcome. But the world building part of it for me was really, I was really fascinated by it. And, at one point was wondering, like, does she have experience doing MMA type stuff, like with, the fighting scenes? We did an Angela editorial craft chat a few weeks ago talking about crafting action scenes. And I was like, oh my gosh, I wish I could have mentioned this book because you do it so well. And the actual things that you're describing, my husband does jujitsu. And for the first time I understood what is it, an arm bar? Is that what it's called?
Arm bar. Yes. Those are so satisfying. I did. And I did Muay Thai, and I didn't last for long Krav Maga because I did just Krav Maga, and I liked doing MMA style stuff. Like just kind of, we called it the grappling club. But there was a whole summer right after my daughter was born where I was like, I'm just gonna do this. I'm gonna go get beat up. I was always a cheerleader or a gymnast, or I was on dance team. I did which is so freaking hard. I want to make sure to clarify, that's not easy. But if you get punched in the face in cheerleading, which is it can happen. It's usually accidental, or it's kind of sidebar, having a fight or something. But I was just I kind of want to go and just see if I can handle myself. I want to just kind of get hit. I don't know if that's a mood. If someone's like, yeah, that's happened, or if maybe there's something that my husband's a therapist. He's got his PhD in psychology, and I'm like, I would rather not talk to you about why I'm feeling this way. I'm just gonna go get hit. I'm gonna go fight out my demons or whatever. And so I joined a grappling club, and it was all these men. And so every week we'd meet. It's twice a week, and we'd meet because I was doing Muay Thai and kickboxing and jiu-jitsu, just kickboxing, regular, just regular stuff. But then they were like, we're doing a grappling club, and if you really want to try and learn to fight people, this is where you want to go. It's kind of off the books. It's just when everything's shut down, we're going to meet here. It's $5 a time. You put $5 in a hat when you walk in, and then you get beat up. And I was like, I would like to do this thing. So I did. And I think all the men were kind of like, what is she doing here? Because I'm like half their size. And I'm like, yes, I am here to serve butts and take names. And I didn't. I was like, they totally beat me up all the time. But there were a couple times where I managed to flip somebody over. And I felt like I went home like, yes. And it just like there's this feeling where it's like I completely just physically owned you. And it's just kind of a high. So it was really fun. I had to stop when I got pregnant because no one wanted to. It's like, hit me. And they're like, you're a vessel of life. We're not going to do that. So I had to take a step back with that. And then I got pregnant with my daughter. So I'm looking forward to going back. But it does take a certain mental, like, you have to be kind of in the mental space. You know what I mean? There's sometimes where you just don't want to be. Do you ever have that where like sometimes you want to have your exercise be like a walk by yourself and then sometimes you just like don't want to be around people. When I'm feeling like I want to be around people again in like an exercise way, I'd love to go back. So that was a very long answer. Yes, I have done this. So all that, mostly the getting beat up stuff. Like when she's like a total badass, I'm like, it's more projection. But like when she's getting her ass served to her, I'm like, that's totally me. So.
Oh, I don't know. I mean, like I said, I mean, my husband does jujitsu. And so I literally went into him and I was like, I understand what an arm bar is now. Because he's mentioned it to me. And I'm like, I never understood it before until reading the way you crafted this world and the way you described these things. It just, all of these fights made sense to me. And so that's why I was sort of wondering, like, what kind of research went into this book? And so I would love for you to just talk about how you researched to build this world.
Well, first I went to San Francisco with my husband. I've been there a couple times because this was a field trip, so I'm native to LA. So, like, choir trips and stuff where we went up to San Francisco, but I wanted to go kind of do the weird stuff, like go kind of walk around the neighborhoods that you're not going to be like, hey, you're an entire 6th grade class. Let's take you to the sketchy parts of town, So went up there, just kind of got the feel of it and the sounds and the smells. I did see a man entirely covered in glitter and paint at 5 a.m. Don't know where he was or what he was doing, but I like to give him a shout out because if he's ever watching this, sir, I saw you. You looked great. I hope you're okay. And then I just started I watched a lot of the, just a lot of fights, Ronda Rousey versus Kat Zingano, just a lot of the MMA fights that I really enjoyed watching. Ronda Rousey was my inspiration for a lot of stuff just because I really appreciated how she was the first woman in UFC, and just how they said women would never fight in the octagon, and she was like, watch me. And she did. So I would watch a lot of the clips of the takedowns. I know I've practiced them before and they've been done upon me. Some of the, the more basic ones, I haven't been like expert level, like flip to the mat. I probably would be dead. But I watched it several times, and then my sister actually did jujitsu too. So we would move the coffee table and be like, all right. When I was in the grappling club and she was doing jujitsu at a different gym, we got to bring our like sister rivalry to fruition. And she'd be like, did you learn this? And I was like, oh yeah, I totally learned this. And then I'd be like, yeah, well, I learned it too. I know it too. I like know what you're talking about too. She'd like, show me. And then she totally kicked my ass, So I have and my husband he's a black belt in Kempo. So I would be like, hold on, and grab his like arm, you know what I mean? And be like, wait, so if I turn this way. So it was just a lot of like standing in my office fighting nobody, or getting my ass handed to me by my sister, or watching YouTube. So, like the greats do, like just standing by yourself in your office.
I think there's something to that from a writing perspective though. I mean, like I've definitely done that where I've gotten up and I'm like, all right, well, if I were, and like you just kind of like fake your way through it. I look like a robot right now doing this, but it's true.
Yeah. If somebody was somebody could see me from my window, they'd be like, is she okay? But I tried to incorporate like, okay, where would they go to have these fights? And then kind of looking around, I went and sat at the, I wasn't allowed to like go like to the dog patch because that place is like, a huge shipyard, but I could see it and I kind of like visualize, okay, so like originally they were big fights. Like in my head, they were actually like, when I first started writing it was like kind of like everyone went like at once, and that didn't really work. And my editor actually I have two editors, Claudia Gable and Melissa Miller, and they were like, hey, have you considered like really narrowing this down? Because they were still doing MMA style fighting, but it wasn't one-on-one. And that's what it really opened it up, having an editorial eye on it, kind of looking at it from the perspective of like, how can you really zoom in on this? And when I zoomed in on it, then it was more like, oh, so I'm glad that it came through, because I was worried I couldn't do that. Like, if I have one fight, it's better be pretty good. Like, you know, if I have a bunch of things going on, then it's kind of easier to keep it felt to me like I could keep the action going. So it was nice to know that people actually like the one-on-one fights and they actually work. So yay.
Yeah, no, I think what you're talking about zooming in is really, to me, that's somewhat of what I was seeing, that I imagine comes from your screenwriter's eye, because I saw that you also are a screenwriter. And yeah, I think that whole, like, even the idea of zooming in, like a camera focus, right? You've focused the attention down to Vesper and like what she's experiencing and why she's fighting. That's at least what I saw, but I'm curious for you, how did your screenwriting experience come into play as you were writing this book?
I finished I got my MFA. I just finished my master's in lit, and I always thought that those two would be like equally useful, but not to take a dig at my master's in lit, but I'm gonna take a dig at it, because it, like, the screenwriting, I had professors that taught me. I have a professor, Andy Gordat, hello, who taught me the Z formation, where it's like, you know, first act, turn into second act, turn into third act. And I was writing when I was in school, but trying to keep the pacing as though it was a movie in my head really helped me keep it cinematic and keep it tight. So but the moments where it plays like a movie in my head, and I always assume that every writer writes like that. I've learned recently that they don't, but I see it as like if I was directing a movie and it was in my head. So like the close shots, or like her internal moments, would be like if there was just a pan of her face and you'd kind of know what she's thinking. And then I kind of took that and transferred it to what it would be in a story. And that's kind of how I write my screenplays. Like, they're kind of feeding off of each other. They're both like, hey, back and forth. And that's just it really helped me learn what is essential in this. And I think in screenwriting, there's not room for like, that was gratuitous, unless it's violence, in which case I see you Walking Dead. But if it's like, every second has to matter on the page for screenwriting. And I think for novels, you can, if you want, kind of go off on a tangent, and you might not lose the reader if your writing's beautiful enough. But I really liked having the challenge of making it like, if this went straight from my head to the screen, would it be tight? And would everything make sense? Would it build? Would there not be a wasted moment? So I just kind of tried to imagine what it would look like as a brain movie. So yes.
Yeah, I think I do the same thing. My background is in theater and acting, and I do the same thing in regards to seeing it as a scene, and you know, what other things are happening, and like sometimes pausing what's happening to step out to like view the whole, like what else is happening all around, and is there something over here useful? And
you zoomed in, and then you're like, I lost every other character in this scene. I have no idea what they're doing. I'd be like, I lost Aldrich, I lost Mavis, I lost everybody, and it's just Vesper. It's like you have to pause it, and if it were like a movie, it'd be like pause, and she'd turn around and be like, shoot, where did everybody go? Like, okay, and then you have to like back it up, and you turn the camera like, okay, what were they doing? And then I go and like add in, okay, Aldrich during the scene is, let's clarify that he is alive, because it looked like he was maybe dead, because I forgot he existed. So I just kind of a fun like brain exercise. I'm sure my dog, she sits on my chair right in the corner, and I'm sure she's so used to me kind of going like talking to myself. My dog and my FBI agent that lives in my camera are probably like, she's a little eccentric. Yeah.
I'm wondering, I mean, just to circle back to the research, I do wonder about that sometimes as a writer, of like, if the FBI were looking at my computer. So I'm going to throw a question at you that you weren't expecting. What was like the craziest thing that you like Googled while you were working on this?
I think like what rope would kill someone best. Like what thread count would leave the least burns. But then like there's so many fears that people have. So it's like, how long would it take to drown? And I did look up like, man, there were so many things, different forms of poison. Also, so yeah, what kind of rope would kill someone without leaving too bad of a mark? I think that was for I also had to look up like Rohypnol, which is a date rape drug, which is a little sketchy. But that was for a deleted scene. And then I had to look up the Queen of Poison flower, which is like one of the wolfsbane, deadly flower. So I'm sure if they looked it up, you know, serial killer or writer, that's the classic option. And I think but you know what? I'm always thinking I'm safe, because if the FBI pulled up my entire search history, it'd be like how to kill somebody, then how to spell this word, then how to kill somebody, then thesaurus.com. They'd be like, writer. For sure. She
Total
can't
writer.
spell lieutenant. She's for sure a writer. Don't worry, guys. I'm safe.
It's totally fine. I'm just realizing now too that I didn't actually read the description of the book. So people are probably like, fighting? What's all this fighting?
Oh,
amazing fighting.
Murder.
Yeah. So I'm gonna read the description really quick so that we at least have that in here.
I'm gonna do a mustache pen because I'm awkward and
do it. Go for it. I'm a fan of it. Okay. So The Magicians meets Fight Club.
Yes.
It's this heart-stopping contemporary fantasy standalone about it, which that upset me, by the way. I read standalone and I was like, no.
Yeah, series. We are a standalone.
About a teen girl with special powers who seeks redemption through the dangerous tournament that guarantees the winner a chance to undo the past. Vesper Montgomery can summon your worst fear and turn it into a reality, but she's learned the hard way that it's an addicting and dangerous power. When she earns a spot in the Tournament of the Unraveling, where competitors battle it out for a chance to rewrite the past, Vesper finally has a shot to reverse the mistakes that changed her forever. Perfect for fans of Cassandra Clare and the Young Elites, this debut novel will knock readers off their feet.
So many promises.
You deliver, though. I mean, you deliver on all of these promises. It was, I like I said, I for anyone who's wondering, I read it all this weekend and I just kept coming back to it. I was reading it while I was eating, drinking my coffee, and in bed. It was so good.
That's a big deal. Those are my 3 favorite things. I was with you for my 3 favorite things. I feel like we connected.
We did. We bonded this weekend, 100%.
Oh.
So you mentioned before your editors, and I'm curious, since, again, we both are part of Angelella Editorial, which is how we connected, which is how we're doing this interview, where this interview is being hosted. And I'm curious for you how going through this editorial process has changed the way that you view clients and students, because you also teach, so clients and students' manuscripts.
Yes. I think I have not more compassion, because I was obviously the most compassionate person before this, but it's more like it's so easy to dish out like murder your darlings. Just murder them. Just kill them straight up with the rope that will leave the least marks, that I Googled on Google. And it's harder when I thought like, oh, this is such a kick-ass scene. Like they're all just like fighting each other. The ship is sinking. Like obviously this is what's going to happen. And then they come in like Claudia and Melissa like, hey, what's up? Have you thought? And I had to do what I always tell other people to do, which is like, just, accept the words of your elders, take it to heart. Like really, you need to just be able to let things go. And so now I'm like, that is not as easy as it sounds. But being able to see that like, that was that Kirkus Star would not have happened. The Belgian Kirkus Star would not have happened had they not been like, hey, Katie, hi, you look really pretty. First of all, I just want to say that. Second of all, have you thought about rewriting your entire book? That wouldn't have happened. So I appreciate it now. And I see that it's almost like I can approach people when I give a note or something where it's like, hey, but also I think I've learned the value of, and this is just over the years of, I'm in a screenwriting group and I have my critique partners and my buddies that I'm always sending things to, and just the value of saying like, hey, base level foundation, this is worth fighting for. The story has legs and this character is good, but the walls and the drywall, like the roof maybe, need to like come down. So just, I think I've learned to be able to, how to communicate, this is worth fighting for, because that's what got me through it. If someone, I wrote this book right after my son was born. And so I'm like postpartum and like sleepless and I think they knew coming back to me being like, hey, what do you think about kind of coming from this angle? Would not be like the best news. So they were really good at like, here's what we loved. This is worth fighting for. Vesper's awesome. But, or not but like, and I think that it would maybe, as I talk it out, that's kind of what it is. It's like, I've learned to kind of be like, it's an and, it's not a but. There's so much stuff here, and it's not going to undo what you have done. It's going to push it this way. Even rewriting the book is not doubling back. It's not undoing good stuff. It's still moving forward. Does that make sense?
It does, yeah.
There's an idea where it's like, I'm going to be like going backspacing the entire novel. It's like, no, you're building off of what you did. You're not, nothing is wasted, even if you have to rewrite it. So, I've learned to take the notes that I've always given. I think taking notes that I've always given changed how I would deliver them. You know what I mean? Yes. And it's like, guys, push through because these edits are going to be so worth it. Having somebody else's eyes and having more than one person being able to be like, hey, yeah, that's a good note, really can transform the entire story. So that was a long answer.
No, it was great. And I think you bring up a really good point. It's something I know I try to do too, of, where is the value? Because there's value and there's something wonderful here. And so how can we pull that out? We might need to pull this away in order to pull that out.
Yeah, that's the hard part, where it's like, honestly, I've had to rewrite so many books at this point. And this is my 4th book that I've written. So, and this is not the first book that was acquired by a major publisher. So like, this is just the first book. And it's like, there've been so many weird twisty turns in my publishing story where it's like, hey, they loved this book. And then they were like, hey, we actually can't do this right now, but we like you. So how about this pitch you pitched? Like, this one sentence. Let's try that. And so I've had to learn so many times over the past 5 years. And I guess started writing like seriously in 2011. So yeah, 8? That it's like, if you can't learn to find the one good thing and just take that as a win, I don't know if you're going to make it because you have to be able to say, all right, back down to studs. It's like that's where you get the crap beat out of you over and over again. And if you can find the one reason to keep going, if you can find the one character or the line or the theme, something where it's like, if someone can say, hey, everything but this needs to go. And if that one thing is still worth writing around again, then you're going to be okay. But I've just kind of, man, any sort of creative anything, you're going to have to redo it again and again and again. And you have to find something worth redoing for. So,
yeah. And sort of like character motivation. Why are you doing it?
Yes. Yes. And I always just tell my students, you got to find something that is worth looking like an ass for. Like, you got to find something that you're totally fine failing at again and again and again. And I was even like, hey, you know what? It might not be my class. Like, you might not like writing, and that's fine. You don't have to like writing. You have to get this, like, you have to finish this and you have to pass this class. Like, that's just what you need to do. But like, I just hope you guys find something worth failing at and looking like an idiot. And like, I mean, I would always say, like, if I have a graceful exit in this industry, it was like 6 miles back. I am way past the point where I could like gracefully bow out of my dreams, like I'm like standing there with coffee and my postpartum hairs and kind of swaying on my feet. Like, I'm not going anywhere. I'm going to write a book and it's going to work. So you have to find the thing that you can come back to and write the book over as many times as you need, because it's worth it in the end.
It's totally worth it in the end. I completely agree. One thing, again, a question I'm going to ask you that is not on there, that it seems like yes, that is based on your bio on your website. I'm wondering if Dean Winchester is a point of motivation for you ever in your writing.
He's a motivation for me in my life. Let's be honest. I love him so much, and I love his my husband knows, like, hey, this is like, I understand that your love for him will probably rival your love for me. And I was like, I appreciate that you know this. No, Dean Winchester is like, if you cracked open my heart, it'd be like, oh, look at Jesus, your family. Oh, look at this is all Dean. This is literally all Dean. Yes. And but his like, Dean doesn't ever really have a point where he's like, I don't care anymore. You know what I mean? He's like, he's got his motivator, and that motivator just keeps him going through what? Being a vampire, going to purgatory, how many times has he died now? Several times.
Oh my gosh, several times. For anyone who doesn't know what this means, go watch Supernatural.
Yeah, it'll just take you like a month. And let's be real, what do you got to do for a month? It's not as important as watching Supernatural. And it's been like a constant companion, right? It's in its last season. It's coming up, and I'm like, this has been my buddy since like high school. So I'm not quite sure what they're thinking, but I guess it has to like end or whatever at some point. I don't know. Rude. All that to say, I love me some Dean Winchester deeply. Deeply.
He's a good one. That's a good obsession to have. I would agree.
Healthy, balanced. Let's not dig into those because they're probably not true, but love him.
So, Katie, I would like you to let us know where online people can find you.
Oh, the tweeters. I try and be funny and I'm not. So come watch me fail and keep trying. Like I just told you need to learn to do. Instagram, lots of pets and kids and some books. And then I'm on my website and anywhere else. If I'm anywhere else, please tell me because it's somewhere I'm not supposed to be.
Well, one place you didn't mention that we are both at is Angela Editorial.
Angela Editorial. There we go.
Yes. We're both open to clients, so feel free to reach out. Try to, come hire us. We will work with you.
No one's coming after me when I'm doing this. What did I do? I just shot the entire thing. I'm so sorry.
Raise the roof.
I know, but I raised it like forward. Who raises the roof forward? That was so bad. Sorry.
Another place you can find Katie is on the back of this amazing book. Go get this book. We are recording this the day before this comes out, so this will probably be posted once this is out, which means that go to your local indie. You can also go to places like Barnes & Noble and Amazon, but, try your local indie first and get yourself a copy of The Beckoning Shadow. It is wonderful. It is awesome. It is really action-packed, and there's magic, and there's fighting, and kick-ass women. And there's kissing. There is kissing. It's really.
I always have to.
That scene is.
I can't read it.
I won't give too much away, but there is a really awesome kissing scene in this that I just like. Whew. Anyway, thank you, Katie, for talking with me today. Good luck. Happy book. Happy debut. Happy book birthday.
I need to get more graceful at that.
You better get used to it because you are headed for awesomeness. If this is the first of many, I'm on board.
Thank you, Denise.
And I'm sure
it was lovely talking to you.
It was so good talking to you. Thanks, everyone. Have a good day.